You know, I had a good childhood. God bless these ladies who went through so much as a kid. I wasn't abused. I was never neglected. I was never molested. My parents are still married. God bless them. I love them so dearly. Over 50 years. But at the age of 8, I was exposed to pornography, and it changed my life. Through an older brother, I got exposed to, at that time, this was in the 1970s, to Playboy magazine. And I start the book that I wrote talking about Playboy and how it's so accepted nowadays. All the big starlets are in Playboy, movie stars, well-known men, Henry Kissinger, have been interviewed by Playboy. Playboy was my gateway to hell. Literally, people think I'm crazy when I say that because it's just everywhere. Playboy is huge. But it got me addicted to pornography. It was softcore porn. It was beautiful. The women were beautiful. The photography was beautiful. And it excited me as a little boy. I thought, wow, this is a whole world of sexuality and lust and pleasure that was opening up to me.
Explain to us, though, where you found that pornography.
Through my older brother. He had it in the house. We also lived behind my dad's business as a little kid. And I would go over to the men's laboratory over in the business, and they had all the Playboy and all the centerfolds in the bathroom. Dorothy Stratton, who I loved. I still love her. God bless her. And she was like my first crush. And I got very bored and kind of tired with Playboy after a while. I saw so many naked women, and I thought, gee, I want them to do something else. I want it to be more intense. I want it to be more exciting. My brother started bringing home Penthouse magazine. Wow, yeah. These girls did more. And it was good for a while. Kept me interested, kept me excited. Then I needed something else. Then came Hustler. And then, wow, I just thought, this is great. It's got everything. It's got men, it's got with women, it's got women and women. It's just got everything in it. And, you know, it satisfied me for a while. And, you know, it was a good place to hide in that porn. You know, I was a little boy. I was kind of artistic and maybe a bit of a sissy. And, you know, it kind of affirmed my masculinity a lot, that Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler, because I kind of felt like I was part of, you know, the adult group of men, because I saw men, you know, looked at porn, enjoyed porn, and kind of made you a man, you know. And so that's what I should do, too. I need to be in that porn world. Well, when I got into my early teens, the VCR revolution happened, and suddenly you didn't have to go to the peep show or the dirty movie house. You could have the porn right at home with the VCR, because my dad went and bought one of these VCRs, one of the first ones ever bought in the early 80s. And somehow I found this magazine or something, or catalog, that sold different kinds of books and videos, but they also had pornographic videos in there. So I was just taking cash out of my allowance, putting it in an envelope, and I was buying porn videos in the early 80s. Tracy Lords was my favorite. I had a lot of her porn, and I was a kid looking at child porn because she was about 16 years old.
How old were you?
I was about 13 and 14 years old. Yeah. So I had my own VCR in my room, and I was, you know, masturbating constantly to all this different porn. And, you know, Tracy did a lot of just girl-guy stuff, and, you know, that was okay for me for a while. But then I did get tired of her, and I started getting into the more extreme stuff, gangbangs and lesbianism, and I was so confused at that point because you know, porn is so liberalizing because there's so many different couplings. You know, there's 2 men with 1 woman and several men with 1 woman and 2 women together, and, you know, is homosexuality okay? Bisexuality? I didn't know. I didn't know. I was confused because I was having attractions to men in these videos. A lot of it had to do with my insecurity as a man because I saw these men in the videos and I thought, gee, they're manly. You know, they have all these women and you know, they're always so potent and virile, and I want to be like them. I want to be manly like them. So when I got to 18 years old, I didn't know what to do. And we live right outside of San Francisco. I said, I'm going to go to the city, and I'm going to kind of discover who I am. I'm going to figure out, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I bi? What am I? So, you know, you don't know what to do when you're a kid. And my whole life had been so saturated with sex and porn. I'm going to go to that place. I'm going to go to the Castro, and I'm going to go to the bathhouses. I'm going to go to the sex shops. I'm going to go to the peep shows. I'm going to go to the adult movie theaters. I'm going to do all that stuff. And I'm just going to figure it out. And there it's going to happen for me. Well, you know, a young kid, you're kind of trusting, and you don't know. And there's all these older men there. And, you know, they just wanted to use me. And I thought they were going to give me love. Because, yeah, I have such a good father, and he did give me love, you know, because we're Italian and we're affectionate people. But I just always felt insecure because I didn't really get that from my peers. I was just insecure as a kid. And when you fall into that gay world where there's so many guys and there's so much camaraderie, and you feel instantly like you belong. But you gotta have sex, and you gotta have sex a lot, and you gotta have sex with a lot of people. And I got used up. I was with a lot of older men that took care of me, and you know, provided for me as long as I was with them. But then they started giving me to their friends and other men, and you know, I didn't need the money. I didn't need the money. I just wanted love, you know. And I didn't know, I wasn't finding it. I wasn't finding it in that life, and I wasn't finding it from other men. So the opportunity came up to do some porn. And, you know, it was kind of a dream, because I thought, gee, that whole world that I admired, all those people that I liked and looked up to, gee, I'm going to be one of them, and I'm going to be in that world. And it started out really slow and gentle, doing solos and then doing it with guys I knew. But then you do slowly and very progressively, and you get into more kinky stuff. Again, it wasn't because I needed the money. I just was trying to find fulfillment, and I was trying to find love. Because I know one of the ladies did say that you do get a lot of compliments. And I needed that when, even the first time I did a video, the man said, geez, you're so manly, you're so handsome, you do such a good job. And I was like, wow, yeah. I said, this is great. This is what I've been looking for. But it goes away, and then you want more. And, you know, I got older. And especially in gay porn, you're either going to be a little twink or you're going to be a daddy. And, you know, I was not going to be a twink anymore. That's kind of the young guy, thin, blonde, usually. And then the older porn stars, male porn stars, they break them in. Yeah. And they're the daddy. Because, you know, all of us gay guys, I think, we have that original womb. There's something in our masculinity. And we're looking for that father. Well, I found the Father in heaven. He's my Father, yeah. And, you know, I was getting used up, I was getting burned up, and I started to do some hustling and some escorting, you know, because it was a thrill in San Francisco to get to do that. You got to go to these crazy places. We're doing it outside in Golden Gate Park and in the Castro and the corners. And, you know, it was a new thrill for me. And at that point, I wasn't even worried about getting AIDS anymore, because I think I wanted to die. Because I was in that life I'd been in it for 10 years. I'd slept with so many men, I would say at least 1,000. And I did get chlamydia, I did get gonorrhea, and I had to have a series of surgeries. I know backdoor sex is hot in porn. I look at sometimes when I'm doing my research and I'm doing my blog, I look at what are the top 10, and they're always anal. Every single time.
I know.
And the majority of them, man, anal sex doesn't work. I did a series of videos on them on YouTube, and people just thought I was completely bananas. But it's so physically damaging to the body. I still have to deal with the physical ramifications. I actually was hospitalized because of that. And I know the proctologists in San Francisco have a huge business with gay men in San Francisco because it just doesn't, it's not working. And I love those guys so much, but they're like me, they're searching for love, and they're searching for acceptance, and they're searching for peace. And in those few moments of ecstasy, you do find those things, but it's very fleeting. So when I got into escorting and hustling, I didn't care. I had some friends that had committed suicide by then that were in porn, and I had some friends that had died of HIV and AIDS. And I kind of thought that I just want to join them because I didn't care. Like I said, I'd been looking for so many years from so many men. I kept looking for that ultimate guy or that ultimate scene or that ultimate movie where everything was going to click into place. And I thought I'd be healed. And it never happened. I did get picked up by a guy, and he put a knife to my throat. And, I asked him to murder me, and he wouldn't do it. But, it wasn't enough for me. My last final scene was in a leather club. And, it involved everything that's sick in that whole world. And I ended up in a hospital because after years of ecstasy, that was my favorite. I loved ecstasy. And we use a lot of poppers in gay porn. And I had a heart condition. I didn't know it. I had atrial fib. Because I would literally go months when I was in porn. I wouldn't sleep. I would just go like crazy. I was like manic. You talk about that a little bit, where you just were going all the time. You're like a vampire, And my body was burned out. And I ended up in the emergency room. My mother, God bless her, showed up. And I was vomiting and sick, vomiting up blood. Blood was coming out of every orifice. And my mother prayed for me. And I cursed her, and I hated her, and I hated God, and I hated Jesus, and I cursed them all at that last moment. And I just thought she was the stupidest person on earth to be sitting there praying for me. And the devil came for me. And he was there in the hospital room, and he took hold of me. And a lot of times when I did porn, I had a chain around my neck and a collar. And he had it back around my neck, and he was pulling on it, and he was dragging me to hell, literally. And hell opened up, and I saw it, and I went, "Dear Lord Jesus, I don't want to go there. This isn't right." And I hadn't thought of God, and I hadn't thought of Jesus in so many years. But for some bizarre reason, like she said, I had a little seed in me from my childhood. And it was like that. And the devil and all the demons were gone. And I was thrown back in my body. But it was a body that I really hadn't been in for so long, because I had been demonically possessed by Satan. And I was like, wow, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? It's like, especially the last 10 years, I didn't know what I had done. I was like being reborn. And God he just took me on the road, and I never did porn after that, and I just got out of that life, and it was over. And I ran for a few years. I hid out. I was so scared. I wanted to get out of San Francisco. I wanted to get out of California. But I realized I had to come back because God had saved me. And I had to help others, because since I've been speaking out to gay men, so many of them come to me and say, Joe, I'm not happy in this life and I don't know how to get out. And I just tell them, you don't have to be in that world anymore. You can get out. You don't have to be there. And that's what I pray for my brothers and my gay sisters, that they just realize that God has given them a very heavy cross. It's a gift, this temptation they have. But it's an invitation by Jesus to stand very close to him as he is nailed on the cross and dies, like the harlot Mary Magdalene, like the virginal St. John, his mother Mary, that we can stand there with him and suffer with him, because the world needs our suffering, our redemptive suffering, to renew all of our gay brothers and sisters who are so lost and still walking those streets. They're desperate and they're hopeless, but they just need love. Thank you, sweetie. And she was like my first crush. And I got very bored and kind of tired with Playboy after a while. I saw so many naked women, and I thought, gee, I want them to do something else. I want it to be more intense. I want it to be more exciting. My brother started bringing home Penthouse magazine. Wow, yeah. These girls did more. And it was good for a while. Kept me interested, kept me excited. Then I needed something else. Then came Hustle, beautiful. The photography was beautiful. And it excited me as a little boy. I thought, wow, this is a whole world of sexuality and lust and pleasure that was opening up to me.
Explain to us, though, where you found that pornography.
Through my older brother. He had it in the house. We also lived behind my dad's business as a little kid. And I would go over to the men's laboratory over in the business, and they had all the Playboy and all the centerfolds in the bathroom. Dorothy Stratton, who I loved. I still love her. God bless her. And then, wow, I just thought, this is great. It's got everything. It's got men. It's got with women. It's got women and women. It's just got everything in it. And, you know, it satisfied me for a while. And, you know, it was a good place to hide in that porn. You know, I was a little boy. I was kind of artistic and maybe a bit of a sissy. And, you know, it kind of affirmed my masculinity a lot, that Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler, because I kind of felt like I was part of, you know, I had a good childhood. God bless these ladies who went through so much as a kid. I wasn't abused. I was never neglected. I was never molested. My parents are still married. God bless them. I love them so dearly. Over 50 years. But at the age of 8, I was exposed to pornography, and it changed my life. Through an older brother, I got exposed to, at that time, this was in the 1970s, to Playboy magazine. And I start the book that I wrote talking about Playboy and how it's so accepted nowadays. All the big starlets are in Playboy, movie stars, well-known men, Henry Kissinger, have been interviewed by Playboy. Playboy was my gateway to hell. Literally, people think I'm crazy when I say that because it's just everywhere. Playboy is huge. But it got me addicted to pornography. It was softcore porn. It was beautiful. The women were